All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's get into the ranking of Phase 4. So we're going to be doing all 16 projects. 16 is crazy because I believe Phase 3 had maybe 11, if I'm not mistaken. So 16 projects, that's crazy in the span of 2 years. And we're going to go from bottom to top, and I'll just give some quick thoughts on all of them as we go. All right, before we start, I'm going to put What If here at the bottom. I don't count animated projects. I do have an entire list of all, I think, 39 MCU projects ranked. I do keep a ranking. I know a lot of people have given up at this point. I still keep my ranking just for fun. But I don't include the animated projects because they just don't seem like they're canon in the same way. I know multiverse and all that kind of stuff, but they just don't seem like they're canon in the same way. They do an entire separate presentation for the animated projects at their expos and stuff. So I think it's separate. So I do think the What If would be towards the bottom. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I think there were some bad episodes. I think there were some good episodes. And I think overall it was just an interesting concept, but nothing really exciting for me. All right, coming in at number 16 is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, I have listened to my fair share of other people's rankings of Phase 4 of the MCU, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier appears very highly on a lot of other people's rankings, and that's totally fine. You guys know I totally respect everyone's opinions. For me personally, I've only seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier once. To be fair, it was over a year and a half ago. Just didn't like it. I think there was a lot of things that it had going for it. Obviously, the commentary on race relations in America, and obviously how a black man can sort of fill in the shoes of a prototypically, let's be honest, a prototypically white role of Captain America was really interesting. I really liked it. I really liked what they did with Isaiah Bradley. I just think it got lost in all this stuff about Carly Morgenthau and Zemo doing something, and Val doing something, and John Walker doing something, and again, I think that the end result of Captain America now being Sam Wilson, I think was really cool. But I just, for whatever reason, and maybe I'll rewatch it again. I don't even think Bucky had that much to do in the show, to be quite honest with you. Perhaps I'm looking at it just too unfavorably because I just haven't seen it in such a long time. But I don't have that kind of fondness for the show that I do for some of the other ones, and I haven't seen a lot of the other ones in a while, but I had a lot of problems with the show, so I'll put it at number 16 for now. Obviously can change my mind, but yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, number 16. Coming in number 15 is She-Hulk Attorney at Law. The only reason that this is a little bit higher than Falcon and Winter Soldier is because I did enjoy more individual episodes of She-Hulk, and I'm a little bit more of a sucker for this whole sitcom kind of vibe. I do think that it lends itself a little bit better to my sensibilities. So I think that the sort of 30-minute episodes, while I didn't enjoy every single one of them, I think that a lot of them were at least entertaining enough. And then obviously you had the Daredevil episode, which I loved. The finale I thought was a big swing, and I thought that even if not all of it worked in the context of the show, I thought that it was actually, was clever enough, and I think that I like Tatiana Maslany enough that I will put She-Hulk Attorney at Law at number 15. Coming in at number 14 is Loki, another show that I'm sure a lot of people will rank much higher than I do. And for me, I did rewatch Loki fairly recently, actually. I rewatched it, I want to say maybe a few months ago, and I have pretty much the exact same feeling as I did when I first saw the show, and that is that half of it is really good, and half of it is really bad. So I think that the first 2 episodes of Loki were probably some of the best episodes of Disney Plus Marvel that they've done. I think episode 3 is quite bad. I think episode 4 is good, and I think that episode 5 is okay, and I think episode 6 is not great at all. I'm one of those people who don't like He Who Remains. From what I've seen from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it looks like that Kang the Conqueror is a lot better. But He Who Remains, I just did not like the performance at all, and I think that this show really kind of lost its identity halfway through, and then I think that it was setting up too much for season 2. So here's hoping that season 2 is a lot more consistent, I hope, because I feel like the ending of this show is really just setting up another season, and I'm not a big fan of when shows do that. So Loki at number 14. Number 13 is his brother Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder is a film that I enjoy. I've seen it twice. I think that it is entertaining. I think that it is fun. I don't think it's particularly funny, unlike Ragnarok, which I do think is very funny. And I don't think it has that emotion, which I think that Ragnarok, well, I don't think Ragnarok has too much emotion. I think it tries, but I don't think it really succeeds. But let's be honest. I think that when Jane dies, I thought I was going to feel more, and I just didn't. So you kind of pair that all together with just kind of a goofy, like silly romp. And yeah, I don't really love the film. I think that it's probably one of Marvel's weaker efforts. So 13, Thor: Love and Thunder. Coming in at number 12 is Black Widow. Now, Black Widow is a film that is sort of forgotten about nowadays because it was the first film of Phase 4. It was supposed to come out, the first of Phase 4. It was sort of, basically supposed to come out like Civil War era. And it probably should have. But again, it came out when it did, and I think that probably hurt it. But I think that Black Widow is an incredibly just solid film. I don't think that there's a lot spectacular about it. I think that David Harbour's Alexei is great. I think Florence Pugh's Yelena is obviously awesome. The rest of the film is just fine. I think Scarlett Johansson gives a good performance as always as Natasha. But again, this is a film that really should have come out in 2017, and that's 2016. And you know what? That's not its fault, but also it is. I can't help but think about that as I think about this film. So it was an incredibly solid spy film. Just really nothing that really stood out about it in that regard. Coming in at number 11 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a film that I think is entertaining, but I also think that is incredibly fluffy and light compared to what its source material and what its subject material is. I think that when you're talking about the Multiverse of Madness, that the film is this light and kind of goofy is odd. I think that Wanda being the villain, that's one thing that I'm totally fine with. I'm going to defend. I think that it makes perfect sense. Again, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, then that's fine. So that's not what I have a problem with. I just have a problem with the fact that when I think about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it just feels incredibly inconsequential. And that's, I don't know. It's entertaining enough. That's why it's this high on the list. But, again, I don't quite see what the point of it all was. And I think that that's really its biggest problem. So number 10 is Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a show, much like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that, it's not that I don't, it's not that I'm saying, what's the point of this show? I think that there is a point to the show. I just think that there are some interesting decisions, obviously, with Kingpin and with the Tracksuit Mafia, with Echo as well, and then obviously with Jack Duquesne. I think Jack Duquesne is a weird character in the show, but for the most part, Haley Steinfeld is really charming as Kate Bishop, and Jeremy Renner is great again as Clint Barton. It felt like it could have been more, but also it was just sort of a fun Christmassy kind of show, and for that, I think that it did basically what it had to do. It fulfilled its basic requirement. I think that it was fun enough, that I was happy with it. So number 10 is Hawkeye. Number 9 is Moon Knight. Moon Knight is a show that had incredible potential. Again, much like Loki, its first 2 episodes were outstanding. Its 5th episode was outstanding. I think its 3rd and 4th episodes were quite good. Maybe not quite good, but good. And I think that the finale kind of was a little bit confusing with the giant crocodile and all that kind of stuff. But what really prevents Moon Knight from being closer to the top is that it kind of gets lost in itself. It kind of gets lost in the whole psychiatrist office with Dr. Harrow. Like, what is that even? It gets lost in the Duat, I believe, the Egyptian afterlife. And it's hard because this show, no pun intended, in relation to Stephen and Mark, but it feels like this show doesn't have an identity at certain points, and it's a shame because this show is just probably some of the strongest elements of any of the MCU properties at all. I think Oscar Isaac gives one of the best performances of any MCU property ever. I think that the subject material is really quite compelling, and it's just a shame that this show really couldn't have been more than what it was. So number 9 is Moon Knight. Number 8 is Miss Marvel. I think that Miss Marvel, again, you're going to see a pattern here, suffers from a lot of the same things that a lot of these Disney Plus shows suffer from, and that is 4 really good episodes. Episodes 1 through 3, outstanding. Episode 6, very good. Episodes 4 and 5, quite bad, in my opinion. And that's a bummer because I think that the potential of this show is just incredible, and I hope that I can't wait to see the family again in the Marvels. I really hope Miss Marvel gets to season 2 because I think Iman Vellani crushes it, and so I think that again a lot of missed opportunities here to just make a really consistently good show, but episodes 4 and 5 are just belonged in a different show altogether, and were just not nearly as good, which is a real shame. Coming in at number 7 is Werewolf by Night. I think that Werewolf by Night proved that the special presentation format can work incredibly well. And I think that Michael Giacchino, the director and the composer of many MCU films, as well as the composer of Werewolf by Night, proved that he can direct very, very well. The style of black and white is really great for the ambiance. I think that Man-Thing is really great. Obviously, Jack as the werewolf is great. And I think that for what it is, as just sort of a side little thing in the MCU that will probably be expanded upon a little bit more later. Werewolf by Night, really, really great for its 50-minute runtime. Coming in at number 6, another controversial one, Eternals. I stand by the fact that I think Eternals is one of the better MCU movies ever made. I understand that is controversial, but I do still love Eternals. I think that the story it was trying to tell about humanity and about these Eternals and the Celestials, and I'm just hoping really that it will connect to the MCU a little bit more. I have no idea what's going on with the Eternals and all that kind of stuff, so I'm hoping that it'll be a part of the MCU going forward. But again, even if it's just the Eternals, I still think it's just an incredibly strong film. I think Icarus is a good villain. And I think that the conflict that the Eternals have with, like sacrificing and the moral dilemmas and all that kind of stuff is great. Really, really happy with this film. I know a lot of other people aren't. That's totally fine. Coming in at number 5 is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I talked about it a little bit ago in the podcast, so I won't really talk that much more about it. Just to say that I think it's a very, very good film. It deals with grief in a way that I think is very poignant and strong, and I'm really happy that the film was as strong as it was, just given all the circumstances. So, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, coming in at number 4, this shocked me. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is one of the single best just pieces of television that I've ever seen. It is warm. It is funny. It is, entertaining. It is everything that you want it to be. Especially with the ending. Just spoiler alert, but with the Mantis and Star-Lord scene, it's just really, really touching. Surprisingly, and just it captured the spirit of Christmas, I think, better than a lot of other things ever did. So, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, I loved it. I'll hopefully talk about it a little bit more in another video, but really blown away by how good this was. Really makes me excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Coming in at number 3 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This is a film that I think truly exceeded my expectations and was just incredibly solid in almost every aspect, and the action was really outstanding on the bus. The bus fight, obviously, and then the choreography of the Ten Rings are just an incredible visual tool in terms of combat. I think that Simu Liu gave a great performance as Shang-Chi. You had obviously one of the best MCU villains, I think, in Wenwu. The story is compelling. The cast is compelling. I think that this is one of the better efforts from Marvel that we've ever seen. Coming in at number 2 is WandaVision. WandaVision started off Phase 4, and I think that it set the bar incredibly high. It's still, I think, by far and away the best Disney Plus show that they've done from beginning to end. I know there are some problems with WandaVision. I acknowledge it. But, the ending is a little bit lackluster. But again, when you go from beginning to end, you just track this story of grief and despair and loss and love and mourning. It's beautiful. And also I love sitcoms as well. So, how could I say no to WandaVision? And obviously coming in at number 1 is Spider-Man No Way Home. This is still probably the best overall film in Phase 4, best film or show in Phase 4. Not just because of the extra Spider-Man, obviously. I maintain that you take that out of the film and it still works incredibly well. It carries the legacy of Spider-Man and his responsibility for others. The death of Aunt May is one of the most powerful scenes in the MCU, I think. The way that Tom Holland plays that, and I think that everything about this film it works, maybe minus a couple things, like some of the villains don't work as well as the other ones. But again, I'm really not going to complain about that, given how incredible this film is. So that is my ranking of all the Phase 4 projects, and let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. I'd love to know. Please send me your own rankings in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think as well.